How's life in general?
It feels great. I wake up every morning and I don't feel broke anymore.
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, hey, welcome. You go by Liz, right? It's Lizanne, but you go by Liz?
I sure do. Yeah.
Good. Well, welcome. Glad you could be here. You want to just tell everybody who you are, where you come from real quick, and we'll take it from there?
Sure. My name is Liz Pilot, and I actually am dual licensed in Chicago and in Northwest Indiana. And I live in Chicago in the Gold Coast area, but I grew up in Indiana, so that's why I've expanded my business over here. I'm currently today at the Valparaiso office.
Okay, cool. Well, the reason why we're having this conversation, you and I haven't met until about a minute ago. I don't think, right?
No.
I've been through in some big rooms where they're doing awards and everything, so there's always a possibility. But I asked for a report last year, towards the end of the year. I wanted to see, because I'm hearing so many success stories of agents who had big increases in their business. And did you know that your business increased 600 and something % last year?
I didn't realize it was that much. I remained busy throughout the entire year. And when I got an email from AU to invite me to the awards banquet, I thought maybe he emailed the wrong person. So it was a pleasant surprise, and it was a lot of fun. The gala was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was very busy all year. And no, I didn't realize I was doing that well.
Well, it's good. I'm so happy to be the one to break the news to you. So that's an amazing thing. The reason I wanted to meet you is to say congratulations on that and to just ask you how you did it, right? When you see a move like that in a year that was a challenging year to a lot of people, what did you do?
So I'm just about at 6 years into being a realtor, and probably around year 4, when I was still struggling, I almost quit because I wasn't making any money. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore because I do it full time. So then I just kept pushing and pushing. And now in the last year, it actually started where I'm getting referrals. I'm getting past clients that have outgrown their homes. They're working from home or they've had another child, so they need to expand. So that was a great success. And then I worked with an investor and literally sold him 3 investment buildings without him even seeing one of them until we closed. So worked with him, he trusted me, and we did video tours, inspection, everything without him being in the market.
Interesting.
So I just feel that the marketing that I use through Coldwell Banker has really helped me.
Really?
And I mail out baseball magnets. So this is a fun story. So you get 100. So 5 years ago, I couldn't even send 25. Now I don't even have to split them up. I mail all out 100 to all my clients.
That's awesome. Baseball magnets. What is that? A schedule for the ball games or something?
Yep, for the White Sox and the Cubs.
Okay, cool.
I have to be fair.
Yep. I love it. So that's great. I like, for a lot of people who are going to watch this, they're in those first few years in the business. And it is like, the good news is that a real estate career is a little bit like trying to get a locomotive moving on the tracks, right? It takes a lot of energy to get it rolling. But once it's rolling, it takes a lot to make it stop. I mean, there's a lot of momentum that gets created. And it's exactly because of the fact that you've got happy customers in your past that are coming back around again themselves, that are taking care of, or that are referring you to people they know, right? Because you took good care of them. So it always tracks back to that. And it's so funny how the fundamentals always seem to come out. Like it's bubbling up in all these conversations I'm having with folks that had great breakout years. Trust, you use the key word, right? You've got people who run through this business trying to go as fast as they can and leaving wreckage in their wake, never have the breakthrough, right? They may buy a lot of leads, and so they're processing a lot of transactions, but they can barely keep up. They don't give the quality of the service. And, when somebody buys millions of dollars worth of real estate without seeing it, that's pretty substantial. That investor building that level of trust where he or she was spending that kind of money and not seeing the property, did you know them in person, or was this a relationship all electronic?
It was actually a buyer client of mine referred me to my investor. And he said, Liz, they said that you're the best and I want to work with you.
That's it. Okay.
So he lives in North Carolina. So he let me do 3 of them. Actually, just last week, I did the same thing with another investor I sold 2 condos here in Chicago without him even seeing them as well.
Wow.
Another key thing that I wanted to point out is I work a lot with first-time home buyers, and I do a first-time home buyer meeting with them before we even go out and see the first property. So I walk them through from why it's important to get pre-approved all the way to what's going to happen during the closing day. So that's really important.
So do you have some buyers who are like antsy and I just want to go see houses? Can we just go see houses? How do you deal with that? Sitting them down saying, calm down. Let's take a minute because you're right. The ones who want to go see houses maybe also be the ones that are flighty, who are off going out with other agents at the same time. The ones that are willing to sit down and be sticky for a minute. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, and during COVID, we really weren't doing face-to-face meetings. So it was a 10, 15-minute phone call explaining it. Then when we met at the property, it was more, of a warmer, welcoming, hey, it's nice to meet you, and so forth like that. But for them to totally understand the process is so important.
Yeah, especially today, right? Especially today where it's not obvious. Like they're probably aware of things like every house sells overnight the first weekend for $100,000 over asking price. Well, that does happen in some situations, but there's a lot of talk where you hear it at the barbecue or in the produce aisle at the supermarket. Somebody talking about how every house sells in 24 hours for over asking price, and you're going to lose bidding war after bidding war, which is something they need to know about the possibility of, and they have to be aggressive, but also the idea that you can still have hope. Like you may have to go after 3 or 4 houses before you're going to get one, but don't think you can't. Like people are painting a picture, at least last year they were, of it just being impossible to get a house. And yet 6 million buyers bought houses last year across the country. So obviously you can do it. How are you finding that aspect of the business in terms of the markets that you're in, available inventory, buyers being at a disadvantage? What's it like?
Well, I mentioned I work a lot with first-time home buyers, and a lot of times, most of them are FHA buyers, and I am really having a hard time getting FHA buyers approved right now. So the last 2 that I've had, I'm working very closely with the lender to see if they have any buyer programs, any credits that the buyer can get so that FHA offer gets accepted. Fingers crossed. I just put one in yesterday. I talked to the agent this morning, and I think we might be getting that one.
Great.
In regards to inventory, I feel that single-family home inventory is kind of tight. I sell a lot of condos, so I'm not finding that as a problem so much. But my buyers that are buying single-family homes, definitely multiple offers, or you take them you show them a house at noon and the offer is due by 3 p.m. It's like, okay, scrambling and trying to get all that taken care of in that short time frame. Yeah,
I'm in the process right now of picking up another rental property here in North Carolina. And I found something today. It was on the MLS for 8 minutes. So I have to go to the open house on Sunday or a Saturday and buy the house, or I'm going to be out of luck. But I still think it's the best deal you're ever going to get on a house in this neighborhood. I've been saying it recently that, people are enjoying talking about an impending doom of the housing market, which I don't see happening because the demand is so real. It's not speculative demand. It's not people, going in with funny money and trying to flip houses. And it's very little of that is actually going on. I mean, your investors are buying to hold, I'm guessing, right? They're accumulating property in a portfolio to hold for the long term.
Yeah. And even the high interest rates haven't scared away my buyers. I have a couple have backed out, especially some investors with the stock market's been fluctuating so much. So I have had a couple of those say, hey, Liz, I just want to take a break for a little bit. Yep. Of course, they're on my drip campaign. They're on my Clients for Life. So they'll still keep getting memos from me and once a month newsletters.
Well, that insight of the sellers taking the powder for a little while is something we started picking up on really at the end of last year from conversations like this, right? People who have their finger on the pulse. And it's now becoming widely known that buyers en masse are making that, having that response, which means we still have bidding wars because there was that many more buyers than there were sellers for so long. But sellers eventually get the message. And we're heading into that phase of the market cycle right now where the standoff is starting, where the buyers are unwilling to continue chasing the sellers up that hill. The sellers don't know it yet. So I always have this image in my mind of a seller running up the hill, laughing and giggling, and the buyers chasing them, and they think they're the catbird. and they've got it all go. And then all of a sudden they look behind them at one point. There's nobody following them anymore, and they have to get a little more realistic. So those crazy price increases and the asking prices that are substantially higher than what the neighbor had gotten just last month, that starts to ease up and slow down, because sellers are right now expecting, I'm going to sell my house on Saturday if I list it on Wednesday. And by 3 weeks from now, they're like demoralized that it's taking an entire month to find a buyer, which is, as you know, totally normal. Actually, it's a very good market for sellers in that circumstance. Yeah. But I think it's shifting. And so I'm encouraging everybody to stay vigilant and stay energetic, because just like last year, there were some real estate agents that sat it out because they were working with buyers and they figured, what's the point? And they didn't have to make the money. And so they basically left it for people like you that were going to stay aggressive, that we're going to figure out how to adapt, like selling houses remotely. So yeah, like stay on it, because it's going to get sometime, I think this summer, you're going to start seeing evidence of sellers coming out of the woodwork, because we're already getting that too. Like we've got people across the country who are, attending these coaching programs that we're doing, the Closer Club specifically. You may have heard about that, where they're just calling their sphere more deliberately than they had in the past, right? The class is like very much about that, of getting comfortable, getting your database together and starting to make calls when maybe you were spotty with it in the past, or you bump into somebody at the cocktail party and you consider that your sphere of influence campaign. They're just getting a little more deliberate and organized about it. And they're finding that they make phone calls, and on the 12th phone call, the person says, oh yeah, I'm glad you called. We were just talking about listing our house, and it's starting to happen all over the place. So there are sellers that are on the sidelines that now that some of the buyers are coming off the field, the sellers are thinking, oh man, maybe this is the time to try to get top dollar before the crash happens, which I don't think is going to happen, but the media is talking about it. So.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, too? I use social media a lot. I'm on Facebook. I share my new listings. I share helpful hints. And those sellers that are potential, they're on my Facebook, so when they're thinking about it, they'll remember, hey, Liz, let's call Liz. I remember she's a realtor. But with these multiple offers and these appraisals, and you have to worry about, is it going to appraise at the $20,000 that your buyer just offered over this price? So there's always challenges. You just got to work with it. And you know what? You have to work with the listing agent. You just can't look at it as an offer. You have to work together with that listing agent even before the deal's accepted, because the two of you could really probably work out the deal before it's even accepted by the seller.
That's an interesting thing. I'm hearing that a lot too, that people have gotten into the mode where, like, you find the house online, it's just a buyer in a house, and it's a static sort of transaction, and there is no need or room or necessity of any kind of nuance in the negotiation process. The seller's going to pick the highest bid, and that's it. And the truth is, it's not the case. Like, you having a relationship with the listing agent feeling comfortable that when you say something, you have a trustworthy vibe about you, right? We're talking about it the whole time today. So when listing agents meet you and they contrast the conversation with you with the conversation they're having with some wheeler dealer type over there, where they're like, I could see this thing going down a bad path. Let me tell the seller, listen, yeah, they have to get a mortgage. This guy's throwing cash around. He's a big mouth, but Liz is saying they're qualified and she's got a good lender. And so I'm not worried about the mortgage contingency. It's going to flow through. That trust factor with you makes that conversation happen with the seller.
Yeah. My previous life, I was a regional sales manager in the wireless industry.
Okay.
And I worked with a lot of the mom and pop stores, and they trusted me when I told them what advertising they should do, what hiring they should do. And that's what I love about being an entrepreneur and running my own business, because in the back of my mind, I keep hearing what I used to tell my dealers, how to run your business. So
that's cool. It's
just being on top of things, being out there. I sell a lot of units in my condo. I'm active in my neighborhood. I was at an event actually here in Indiana, and someone said, oh, you're the realtor from Chicago.
Oh, cool.
So they pay attention. They may not say anything all the time, but they're paying attention.
So let's talk about that. The Northwest Indiana. So for people that aren't familiar with the territory, Chicago suburbs, you draw a ring around Chicago and you're into Northwest Indiana then. And you're getting the rail, the commuter rail brought into your community. I think that's a really exciting thing. So you mentioned that somebody in Indiana said, hey, you're the realtor from Chicago. That connection is being made more concrete now, because I guess they could sit in traffic and drive to the city in 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic, maybe worse. But now they can get in there when these train stations help. They can get in there in like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, but they can relax while they're doing it, always be on time. It's really timely with the exodus out of office buildings and into remote work, even for part of the week. Are you seeing anything? Are you leveraging that yourself? Like, how is that playing into your career?
Yeah, so last year I had 3 Illinois buyers move to Northwest Indiana, and they are doing that reverse commute, as we say. So right now, currently, the South Shore train does go into Chicago, but the new line that you're talking about is going to be farther from north to south in like Cherville area, which they have to drive to the train station in East Chicago to get to Chicago. So
they'll have
what I'd like to talk about Northwest Indiana, just visualize the lake and all those little towns around that lake. That's where I'm selling at.
Okay. That's great. And I see the opportunity, and I've done this many times in my career, where there's an economic development trend of some kind. Okay. A gentrification of a beat up downtown, or a rail system, or in one case, there was a dirty factory on the all up down the Hudson River were factories that were defunct and polluted, and they were turning into condos. We just started to show up at those things, keep on top of exactly what's going on in those situations, and tell the community about it, almost like a reporter would. Like, I'm gonna read the minutes of the meeting. If I'm gonna go, if I can, but if I can't go, I'm gonna get my hands on the rendering of the new building somebody just proposed on, alongside the railroad tracks or across from the train station, in your case, and just report it to everybody and connect it with, for the people in this community, your property values are going to benefit from this. Demand for real estate near this train within a 10-mile drive is necessarily going to go up. And so this is good for you. Even if you don't commute, it's good for you. And on the flip side, when you're talking to folks in Chicago, you're showing them the incredible value that you get for your money in Northwest Indiana. And like, you can get back to the city whenever you need. So you can play this origin destination strategy thing, which you're already doing, but you can also do it where you essentially take credit for and just adopt an economic development trend and amplify it and get followers to pay attention. Are you doing anything like that yet?
Not yet, but I have had conversations with a few people that maybe we could team up and do some of that together.
Cool. Good. So you mentioned earlier that marketing has been effective for you. Can you share a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I do the baseball magnets. I also do the monthly, or actually quarterly magazine.
You get your own. What is the magazine?
Yeah, so it's a magazine, and I'm featured on the front, but they create the material in between, and then I'm featured on the back. Okay. So I rotate that to new buyers. And one of my buyers, when she got it, she texted me. She said, "Oh my God!" She goes, "I feel like I know a movie star because my picture's on the paper." Clients for life. I've had 2 of my previous buyers win gift cards.
Great.
So one even texted me just the other day, "Hey, look what I bought. I bought a new fire pit with my Mayfair gift card."
That's awesome.
So I do that. Also, I'm working with a buyer. It's going to take some time, but on our Public Banker TV channel from one of my listings. It was a small house, but she found it, and she has me looking at homes looking over $1 million.
Okay.
So that type of marketing. I do postcards, just drop notes every time they have a home anniversary. Either send them a text message or a handwritten postcard with here's cool. A gift card to go get a Dairy Queen.
So I love that kind of guerrilla warfare stuff. How do you remind yourself of their anniversary?
I put it on my phone, and it comes up on my calendar. Every closing I have is on my phone. So I put the date, and I put a yearly reminder. So every year I get a reminder on my phone. So
every closing you have, part of your ritual is to set it up as a recurring event. Then it just always shows up, and then you just click on it, you give them a call, you send them a text. I love that kind of stuff, right? I love that you're investing, by the way, in marketing, because somebody like you, your trajectory is what it is because it's worth it for you to spend money on marketing because you're not churning and burning, right? You're not just shaking people out and seeing who wants to buy and then throwing them aside. You're everything you do feeds the overall database and relationship base, and you create automatic things. Like, it's a wonderful phone call to get because I don't remember when my closing date was. If somebody were to call me and tell me, "Hey, happy anniversary," I'd be like, "Oh no, Like, no, wait, my anniversary with my wife is in 2 months. You scare me to death. I thought I was missing my anniversary. I know your house anniversary. Like, oh, cool. And I'd walk around the place and appreciate it for a moment. And then I'd appreciate you for reminding me about it. So it's brilliant.
Yeah. So one thing I do not do, I hate cold calling. I hate calling somebody on the phone. 99% of the time, they don't pick up. But if I text them, I usually get a response. Hey, thanks for remembering. I would have forgot, just like you said, I don't remember my home anniversary. But also in regards to marketing, remember I said that I used to manage the mom and pop stores. I used to tell them all the time, it takes money to make money. And that's exactly what this job is. You have to market yourself. And the Coldwell Banker logo, so to speak, the branding of Coldwell Banker, people know that logo, know the name, and they trust that brand as well. Not only trust me, but they trust the brand.
There's a lot of people that are going to be really, really happy that you said that, because this recording is going to be seen by people in the marketing department who work very hard to design and protect the integrity of the brand. And I love being here too, because you're right. I get the same reaction. People ask you what I do. I say I'm in real estate. They say, well, what do you mean? And I say I work for Coldwell Banker. And I get the same reaction every time, which is they're impressed because they know the name, and it's been around since everybody that I know was a kid. You know, even the 90-year-old person that I know, when they were a kid, Coldwell Banker was around. And so the marketing department will appreciate the fact that you're getting value out of that, because they work hard to I see you have the Core 4 banner behind you there. Is that in your home office right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm in the Valpo office.
Yeah, I know who's going to love seeing that you've got that in the background. So this is great. I wanted the final question in these conversations, and then we can talk about whatever you want, is how has this changed your life? You've worked very hard. You almost quit because you got a little bit worn out, but you stuck with it. You had your breakthrough now, and now you're sailing. And I'm telling you, this is not a fluke what happened last year. I hope you don't feel there's no voice in your head should get away with telling you, oh, you got to do it all again now. I mean, how is your year going this year? Are you still rolling this year like you did last year?
Well, Q1 was very slow compared to last year. Last year, Q1, I had a really good Q1. However, what I have planned and what's coming, my third and fourth quarters, even down to fourth quarter, is going to keep me very busy.
Good.
So I've rewarded myself a little bit by taking some time off. You know, January was quiet, but I did enjoy the quiet. I was able to go on a trip back in April, and now I can't even go meet friends for dinner because I'm too busy.
So that's cool. Taking a little time for yourself.
Yeah, that it is important. And I'm a big beach person, and that's why I love Northwest Indiana so much, because the beach is right here. I could go sit there for an hour and then get back to work.
I like just prompting even a little bit more about the way that has changed your life having this breakthrough. You know, the way that you feel about yourself, that you're a successful entrepreneur again, right? You had your run in the previous career. You came here, you fought your way through. Like, how do you feel, and how's life in general?
You know, it feels great. I wake up every morning and I don't feel broke anymore.
Okay, well, that's good.
You know, and really now with summer being here, you know, activities will keep me busy, and it's really just a mental thing. I think, knowing that my business is growing, and last year it grew rapidly. I'm by myself. I'm not on a team. Last year I felt like, oh my God, I need to hire an assistant. You know, so it's just, I really feel that it's my past sales experience. I used to manage 8 states and like 100 different reps.
Okay.
So now it's me managing 100 different things every day, it feels like. But I'm able to manage it because of my past sales experience.
And you know what? That's you don't have an assistant yet?
No.
So you have, at some point, it'll become really obvious that you'll do that, and it'll work. Mm-hmm. Like, I just want you to feel confident that like, I was in this business as a kid when my mom was a real estate agent in the 80s, when the assistants were a brand new thing back then, right? Like, all these things that are tried and true success techniques for real estate agents, a lot of it was invented back in the 80s and early 90s. I was on the ground at the time when, like, real estate agents started putting their faces on business cards. Real estate agents started putting their riders with their personal number on their yard signs. Agents started marketing themselves. They started getting a lot of listings and getting really busy, so they started hiring administrative support assistants to help them with the paperwork. Then they got even busier, and then at some point they think maybe it's time to add a buyer's agent. But like what I know about that is that people who run out and build teams because they want to have a team aren't doing it the right way. The way to build a team is when you absolutely positively know that you're making too much rain and somebody else has got to hold the bucket because you're missing opportunities because your machine has gotten so effective. Now you want to delegate some of that busy work that you can give to somebody that you can trust. And all of a sudden you see the product, it pays for itself almost right away is the point. So don't hesitate when you get to a place because assistance definitely is a tried and true thing. And again, all that stuff was invented here in Coldwell Banker and Century 21 back in the 80s. It's all developed over time. But the good news is that it always works. Like, it always works to when you get somebody who has the ability that you have to meet people and to have them trust you relatively quickly because of how you carry yourself and have them want to tell their friends. That's the magic that you're rainmaking, you're clapping the clouds together. A lot of rain is falling. You'll find the right time when you're ready to make that plunge and you can feel confident that it'll be worthwhile.
Yeah, it's in my mind and probably it's going to happen probably later this summer.
Yeah, when you feel like you're ready.
Especially between the two markets, especially working Indiana, Illinois. And one thing that I do is I try to do all my showings, especially in condo buildings. So I commit to my sellers, I'll do the showing. And so sometimes you have to shuffle that schedule and just work with the buyer's agent and say, hey, I'm not available at 2. Can you come at 4? Just to make it more personal. And that's a commitment that I give to the sellers.
Right. But that becomes a lot of detail.
I'm not a lockbox realtor.
Yeah, good. Well, that's part of the trust factor for sure. So, one last thing that I was going to do you have any young people in your life? Are you a mom? Do you have?
I am. I'm a single woman. I've been single for a long time. My daughter lives here in Northwest Indiana as well as my family, so that's why I've expanded my business here. Okay. So I support myself, so that's why I work so hard.
Right. Well, the reason I asked about the young people is that one of the things that is also happening is that anybody who's close to you is watching what you're doing and they're paying attention, and their belief in what's possible in their life gets uplifted by watching you build something out of thin air. Right. So that's a beautiful thing. And you'll hear it from people if you haven't already, that I hear it now because I've been in business long enough that people that I didn't think were paying attention are, mentioning that, hey, they watched me work hard and have it pay off, and they're watching you too.
Well, and I'm smiling because I have a granddaughter. She's 12 and a half. And last year, she was with me a lot. If I'm visiting my daughter, Gigi, why do you work so much? So then when I got invited to the gala, I said, see, all that hard work paid off.
There you go. So, that's embedding itself in her memory now. And what I grew up tagging along with my mom when she was a real estate agent. She was mom making tuna fish sandwiches, and then she was wearing a gold jacket and leaving the house, and then she was driving a Cadillac, and then she was coming home with trophies, and we're all watching this as kids. And I just grew up with this belief that, starting a business and succeeding is normal, right? It's not some big intimidating thing. It's the way it works in America. And so she was giving me that gift without even realizing it. And you're doing the same thing for your granddaughter, that's such an awesome benefit that she'll be confident in the future when she takes risks, partly because she saw you do it.
Yeah. Well, I even thought of her down the road to be my assistant someday.
Oh, that's good. You don't mind paying her, right? That's cool. All right. Well, great. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your success. I'm hoping that this is just the beginning and your trajectory continues to go up. Keep me posted. I'll be watching from over here. Maybe we'll check in again next year and see how it's all going.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a great weekend.